Ayan na, kumusta kayo dyan mga kometa? Pasensya na sobrang late tayo nag-start. May class tayo na back to back. Medyo sabaw na, medyo lagarin na today ah. Siyempre, ganun talaga pag nag-abroad ka. Pagbalik mo, eto na, sabay-sabay na lahat ng mga kailangan mong gawin. So, pasensya na if medyo late tayo nag-catch up. But as you know, of course, pag may konting break time or after classes or before classes, we make sure na medyo check also on the latest na developments sa ating bansa, including of course over Twitter. And as you know, of course, nag-post tayo kanina nung clip natin from yung Deutsche Welle interview natin sa Berlin, dun sa kanilang headquarters muna sa Berlin itself. And of course, I appreciated the opportunity to push forward what I believe is a both righteous and objective perspective pagdating sa West Philippine Sea disputes, and also a reminder sa mundo na hindi pa tapos yung laban pagdating sa West Philippine Sea, na the situation is not stable yet. Ayan. Okay. Numbers, block ka na. Ayan. Ganun kasimple lang. Okay? Control kayo. Okay, remove ka na. Ganun lang. Okay. Ayan kasi, talaga dapat palaban tayo mga kameta. Hindi tayo papayag sa mga bayaran na troll na yan na ano yun nila, na sisirain nila yung mga conversations natin. Anyway, mga kameta, ito. So, may updates tayo kanina na itong China na naman is bullying na naman si Pilipinas, at ang kailangan talaga natin gawin is to make sure na to figure out what's going on here. So, base dun sa reports na lumalabas sa lumalabas dito sa news, no? At dun sa mga Twitter updates na nakita ko from Commodore J. Tariela, at nakikita ko from others, no? Ay wait, nakalabas din pala itong isang article natin sa Batanes, ano? Medyo malala yung situation, no? So once again, nakikita natin na itong China, binablock yung ating efforts to resupply yung ating mga kababayan dyan sa West Philippine Sea. So base ito sa mga latest report. Let's first go to the report itself and then explain ko sa inyo anong bigger implications nito, no? Tsaka anong konteksto na to para ma-appreciate natin yung nangyayari on the ground. So Manila has accused yung China's Coast Guard, no? Now once again, I think this is the third time in the past 3 or 4 months since last November, so past 5 months, of firing water gun on isa sa mga resupply boats natin na pumupunta dyan sa Second Thomas Shoal, no? Specifically dun sa Sierra Madre over the Second Thomas Shoal, or yung tinatawag natin na Ayungin Shoal. Ito na, so ayon sa Philippines, the UM4 supply boat sustained heavy damages at around 8:52 due to the continued blasting of water cannons from the Chinese Coast Guard. So hindi ito mga Chinese militia, hindi ito Chinese Navy, pero ito yung Chinese Coast Guard, no? So yung Philippine Coast Guard naman, sabi niya, the damage to the boat, yung pala Philippine Coast Guard later on reached the damaged boat to provide assistance. So nakikita natin dito, mga kamitan, na may direct coordination, no? May direct coordination sa pagitan ng Philippine Coast Guard and also the Philippine Armed Forces of the Philippines and Philippine Navy. So these resupply missions are not in any way just the work or just the efforts of one branch of the Philippine government, but iba't ibang branch of governments are involved dito sa pangyayari ngayon to make sure na we defend and we uphold our rights sa West Philippine Sea. So ito, ayon sa Armed Forces of the Philippines, heavy daw yung damage dito sa water cannon na yan. So ito na naman, nagbully na naman sila ng big time. Mamaya i-post natin yung mga videos na available from online. 1 second, dito pa yung isang cellphone natin, baka malabas natin dito. Because I think there were videos that were posted i-exploit nila by the Philippine Coast Guard and the authority. So as you know, pinapost naman natin yung ebidensya, di ba? Ebidensya right away if something crazy is happening dyan sa West Philippine Sea. And as I always say, the situation is definitely not stable, and hindi totoo na now we have the luxury of time to just wait for things out, for to wait for them to just stabilize. Okay, ito na pala yung ito na nakita natin. Oh, grabe to. Oh. Sobrang bullying talaga yung ginagawa nila. Oh. Kawawa yung isang boat natin, dalawa pang boat na parang sinasandwich siya. Oh, grabe, oh, tingnan niyo naman. Ito guys, oh. So ito yung boat ng Pilipinas sa gitna. Sa gitna yung boat ng Pilipinas. Tapos sinasabay ng dalawang Chinese Coast Guard vessel. 'Di ba? Grabe talaga tong bullying ng ginagawa ng mga to. Ito, so kitang-kita niyo. Ito yung boat ng Philippines sa gitna. And then dalawang Chinese boat from both sides ay tuloy-tuloy na water cannon nila. Of course, base dun sa pinakita natin na mga kameta last time dun sa mga videos natin na nag-viral. I think almost 4 point plus, mag 5 million views na yata sa Instagram yung isang pinost natin. Uh, ito na nga in fact, what happened is itong mga water cannon yan, dahil sobrang lakas, ang nangyari is talagang basag na basag yung mga windows. And if this hits you directly, it could cause pain, it could cause injuries. And if it indirectly, so kunyari, it hits something sharp like a glass, it hits something like a metal, and then pag tumama sa tao yan, grabing damage na pwede na gawin, no? So definitely hindi peaceful itong ginagawa ng China. So this is as of 8 a.m. kanina umaga lang, March 2024, 8 a.m. So this morning, guys, ito yung nangyari na ito. So what's going on? So obviously, first of all, as you can see, hindi ito exaggerated, pa-cute na naman yung Philippines, kasi alam ko na naman yung mga makapili club, yung mga bayaran dyan, ready na naman sila to downplay this situation, sabihin na tubig lang yan, wala naman nangyari, there's nothing serious. But guys, tingnan naman, anyone you put there, I mean, the whole boat is being tilted to different parts. Ganyan kalakas yung water pressure. And for anyone who has been in protests or has seen the effect ng mga water pressure sa mga protests, you can see that it can really hurt people. It can really damage people. So it's very, very important. It's very important to not downplay the situation. Unless yung mga matapang natin na makapili na kaibigan, gusto nilang mangyari is lagay natin sila sa harap ng water cannon ng China. Hindi lang water cannon ng Philippine National Police or water cannon lang dyan sa tabi-tabi. Lagay na natin sa harap ng water cannon. Lagay natin dyan sa boat yung mga makapili club na yan at tingnan natin na maging epekto sa kanila para gandang-ganda ng epekto nila. Para makita yung epekto nila. Gandang-ganda ng epekto nila. Okay. So what's going on here? Sa aking palagay, there are multiple things going on here. First of all, ang pinapakita nito ay tuloy-tuloy ang pag-resupply ng Pilipinas ng ating position dyan sa Ayungin Shoal. This is something important because if you look at it from 2015 onwards, the Chinese have been preventing us from strengthening our position on the ground by, among other things, making sure that, sorry, may bata, maingay dito tayo. Making sure na tuloy-tuloy yung resupply natin. As you know, in 2015, the position was so desperate, mga kameta, that actually the Philippines had to ask help from the United States, among others, to be able to drop yung mga resupply sa ating mga bayani. Hindi yung itong mga SMNI bayani, yung mga ex-human rights type na bayani. Totoong bayani, no? To defend yung ating position dyan. So actually, the first thing na makikita natin dito is tuloy-tuloy at undeterred itong effort ng Philippine Navy and Philippine Coast Guard in terms of resupplying yung ating mga kababayan. That in itself is a very important thing. Second, ang pinapakita nito is that the Philippines is not gonna shy away from exposing any act of bullying by China. Isa sa mga narinig natin sa Makapili Club, yung mga bayaran, yung mga tinatawag na useful idiots, mga yan, ang sasabihin nila, bakit nung panahon naman, hindi ko, wala naman nangyaring ganun eh. Well, dalawa lang naman dahilan dyan. Unang-una, baka nangyari, hindi lang nilalabas. Dahil sinabi ni tatay noon, wag niyo naman na-embarrass ang China, kawawa naman ang China. Parang isang oligarch na sabi, wag naman ipakita yung mga mali sa NAIA, baka ma-embarrass ang bansa natin. Yung ganon. So that's one thing you have to keep in mind. Parang tayo pang mali if may expose something wrong, di ba? Kaysa naman ayusin nila yung situation on the ground. But anyway, going back to this, so that's the first thing. Actually, it's very possible many ugly things were happening during Digong. Yun lang, hindi lang nilalabas. But more importantly, I think, you also have to keep in mind yung fact that it was under Digong na nangyari yung Gemver. It was under Digong na muntik na matay more than a dozen Filipino fishermen dahil binangga lang sila ng ganyan-ganyan lang ng isang Chinese militia vessel. right? So it's not like China was not doing crazy things already or literally fishy things dyan sa West Philippines. Many bad things happened during Digong, except we don't know a lot of things happening on the ground, like yung mga bullying na ganon, dahil mukhang may parang ano parang gag order from the top dahil ayaw ng tatay natin dati na ma-embarrass yung kanyang amo, 'di ba? Yung totoong amo niya na ibibisitahin niya naman niya next month, all right? So kung si Bibi ang pupunta sa White House, si tatay naman pupunta sa Beijing, Zhongnanhai. Okay. So, it is very possible na what we're also seeing here is this encouraging development where, kung saan ang Pilipinas ay binubuking yung pagbubulin sa atin dyan sa West Philippine Sea because they know that this has diplomatic cost for China. Because they know that China doesn't like this. Because they know that China wants to maintain this fiction na everything is stable, na mabait sila, wala silang maling ginagawa, Pilipinas na nanggugulo. Well, clearly, obvious dito sa mga videos na yan, ng pangbubuli ay hindi galing sa Pilipinas. At kitang-kita mo naman yung differences of size between yung boat natin, yung parang kawang-kawa sa gitnang-gitna yung ating boat, yung barko natin na maliit. Tapos ang laki-laki ito ng mga Chinese Coast Guard na yan. Parang halos ka-size ng isang warship na malaki, diba? So kitang-kita mo talaga yung asymmetry of power. I mean, there's nothing wrong with one country having more than the other country. Well, they're a bigger country, they're a richer country. Okay, gets ko yan. Pero when you use that for bullying, when you use that for forcing your position on the ground, when you use that to essentially tell the world that might is right, 'di ba? Habang pinipilit mo yung mga JAPEX mong mga claims na 10-dash line, 11-dash line, 9-dash line, historic rights, mga ganyan ek-ek na yan, na wala namang basihan sa international law, wala naman nagre-recognize na matinong bansa or matinong mga nag-iisip na tao, well, that's not gonna look good on them. And in fact, it's gonna make it even harder for China to convince itong mga ASEAN countries na totally not discuss the ASEAN issue. Kasi yung ginagawa ng China is to say, oh, Malaysia, wala naman kaming ginagawang mali sa inyo. Di tahimik na kayo, huwag na kayo makialam dyan. O Singapore, gusto mo naman yung investment, di ba? Tuloy-tuloy lang itong investment natin. Para wala nang problema. Indonesia, di naman kami nagbubuli dyan masyado sa North na Tuna Sea. So tahimik na lang kayo. At Vietnam, well, Vietnam of course, matagal na, 1,000 taon na tayo nag-aaway. Pero wag natin kalimutan may mga investments tayo dyan, mga importanteng bagay. Kakabisita lang na Xi Jinping dyan the other month, noong November, etc. Let's keep it under the wraps. So, these kinds of videos make it very difficult for the rest of ASEAN to just completely remain mum and selfish and without also looking weak or essentially enabling yung bullying of the Philippines. That's very important. Diba? That's very important. So habang yung Malaysian leader ay mahilig mag-criticize sa West, and I sometimes very legitimately doon sa mga double standard or shortcomings sa West, I have no problem with that. Pag biglang sasabihin, wala naman problema sa China, wag natin i-demonize ang China, wag ng Chinophobia, ibig sabihin, bahala ng Pilipinas, bahala ka na dyan sa sarili mo, wala kami paki sa'yo, kahit kawawain ka, then obviously they're gonna not look very good. Diba? So this has also implications for regional diplomacy. Now, alam ko, yung isa pang sasabihin ng mga makapili dyan, nakita natin yung sinabi ng isang, anong pangalan nun, ng isang major vlogger in the town. Yan, yung mga, kamusta na yung mga major vlogger? Mga nasa Beijing na yata yung mga major vlogger ngayon. Bakit kaya nasa Beijing? Itong mga major vlogger. Ano kaya meron sa Beijing? Na-miss ba nila ang freedom of expression? Sa Beijing ba sila nag-aaral ng mga cutting edge international relations theory? Diyan ba sila sa Beijing mag-publish ng una nilang totoong scholarly publication, or mas madali lang mag-blog and mag-spread ng fake news from actually a country that actually blocks Twitter, blocks Facebook, and also obviously yung mga yan, privileged VPN access pa yung mga yan, diba? Kasi yung mga ordinary VPN hindi gumagana sa China. Alam ko yan kasi, diba? Bumibisa na naman tayo sa China, so alam natin ang mga katotohanan dyan sa China. Anyway, going back to this, of course, the timing is very important. So, a while ago, I posted a video of yung interview natin in Berlin with Deutsche Welle dito sa ukol sa West Philippine Sea, South China Sea issue. Again, doon sa mga henyo dyan, ang West Philippine Sea refers to our exclusive economic zone and continental shelf sa loob ng South China Sea. So, it's not the entirety of South China Sea. It's just over a quarter of the South China Sea at most. So, When you want to discuss the whole crisis, you talk about South China Sea, hindi lang West Philippine Sea. Kasi ang argumento po natin is, ang problema dito ay hindi lang sa pagitan ng Pilipinas at China. Ang problema dito ay sa pagitan ng China, na napaka-expansive yung claims niya, at yung mga mas maliit na bansa, na yung mga claims nila ay mas proportionate dun sa, hindi lang sa size nila, pero mas tugma dun sa international law. Kaya tignan mo yung baselines law ng Philippines, pinasa natin 2009, yung bagong maritime uh, archipelagic baselines law na pinapasa natin ngayon. Lahat yan is to make sure na ang Pilipinas tugma yung ating position sa modern international law. Kaya nga hindi na natin in-invoke ang Paris Treaty, because yung Treaty of Paris claims is isang malaking square na ganun. Walang basihan yan sa modern international law, no? So what's happening here is we're exposing yung inefficacy of ASEAN. We're exposing here yung lack of courage of ASEAN leaders. We're exposing here yung fiction, yung myth na everything is fine in the West Philippine Sea, or South China Sea for that matter. And we're also exposing yung questionability of claim ni Anwar Ibrahim at saka ibang ASEAN leaders na wala namang ginagawang maling mga China, etc. Now, I completely agree with, just to be clear, I completely agree that we shouldn't demonize China or any country for that matter. China is a great civilization, great country. There are many great things that China can offer to the world. Pero pagdating sa ginagawa ng kanilang liderato, their leadership, yung kanilang policy sa West Philippine Sea and South China Sea, you have to call it out, diba? At yun ang problema kay Anwar at saka yung mga ibang ASEAN leaders, na sobrang selective, na sobrang double standard, actually sila rin double standard, pagdating sa kanilang positioning sa international law. And to think, kapitbahay natin ng Malaysia, wala silang solidarity whatsoever. Sila nga, binuli din sila dati. Not to mention, wala rin siyang sinasabi dun sa mga ginagawa sa mga Uyghur at saka Muslim minorities sa China. So, dun para sa akin, very, very problematic. Very, very problematic yung positioning ng Malaysian Prime Minister, even though I agree with some of the things he has been saying, and I definitely agree na kailangan natin i-push din ng Western countries to be much more consistent about their moral posturing and positioning on the international level, right? Because all lives matter, all lives are equally important, right? Of course, you know the context of this conversation. Otherwise, you can check my column for Philippine Daily Inquirer this week. Now, I understand ang sasabihin ng mga makapili club, especially mga nasa Beijing ngayon, ng mga others, tingnan nyo, akala ko, eto ng US, susuportahan na tayo ng US. Akala namin, pag expanded ng EDCA, may deterrence na. Akala namin na andyan na si Secretary Blinken nung isang araw at sinusuportahan tayo at ironclad na yung commit. O, bakit tayo ginaganyan? Actually, I find that very interesting. On the surface, that kind of argument actually can have attraction, and it's understandable because people are still wondering saan yung mga malalaking barko or saan yung mga advanced weapon systems, aircrafts, fighter jets, whatever na dapat makuha ng Pilipinas sa isang superpower ally katulad ng United States. After all, the US is sending billions, tens of billions of dollars to other countries from Middle East to Eastern Europe. Alam niyo ang mga bansa na yan, iba pa nga sa kanila, superpower na nga sila sa region nila, kukuha pa sila ng billions and billions of aid. So, obviously, I agree that we have to ask questions in terms of ano ba talagang binibigyan ng US sa Pilipinas na tugma doon sa ating pangangailangan ngayon. Hindi yung mga barel na pangpatay lang sa mga terorista or yung mga weapon systems ng Vietnam era or yung mga binibigay na obviously hindi ganun ka-useful pagdating sa dealing with the world's largest naval force, which is China, by the way, just in case you are not keeping up with the developments and facts. Now, of course, mahabang issue yung quality of Chinese Navy, but I rather not underestimate it because as Stalin once said, quantity brings its own quality, right? Swarming. When you just have many warships like China, when you have so many Coast Guard militia forces like them, that gives you some qualitative advantage to like you guys, you want to get into some sort of military analysis, nitty-gritty analysis. Now, going back to this. So, what's interesting with that argument is that, wala namang ambag ng US, wala namang ambag ng EDCAP. Well, look at it. Ang ginagawa ng China still is not using guns. We're not saying it should happen, God forbid it happens. But the fact na ang US ay tuloy-tuloy, the fact na in China, hanggang ngayon, ginagamit pa rin niya yung strategy na ginagamit na for a long time na obviously hindi gumagana, which is to use a water cannon, to use militia forces, to use intimidation tactics, intimidating maneuvers, aggressive maneuvers, Karen diplomacy. It's not working. It's really just not working. This is, yes, what we call gray zone strategy. Gray zone strategy, meaning it is coercive, it's a bit violent, but it doesn't involve essentially, shooting wars. No, it doesn't involve using guns or bullets or well, we can have also debate about that, about lethal laser systems, etc. Right? China is not using those things. It's still using gray zone strategy, water cannon, and while this is definitely something dangerous, this is something that can escalate things. This is something that is super wrong. This is something that shows bullying and all of that. It just shows na ang China din ay takot na i-escalate ito. Because if China was not scared, if China was not concerned, of course, hindi sila scared sa atin. So, connect the dots. What is the consideration of China? The consideration of China is that actually US will be forced to come to the Philippines rescue because it's not like the Americans want to fight the war for the Philippines. Obvious yan, duh. Yung mga nagsabi, well, each country is for own. Exactly. But kaya nga may tinatawag na on overlapping interests, right? Bakit tumutulong ang US sa Ukraine? Because Ukraine has been beating the heck out of invading Russian forces. And by doing that, it's also serving American interest, right? And then, of course, you can also talk about alignment of values, frontline nation, etc. US supporting Taiwan is not because they love Taiwan per se. It's because Taiwan is a strategic country. It's an important country. There's semiconductors here. The Philippines is a treaty ally. If the US doesn't do anything, if Philippines comes under attack or anything like that, then mukhang walang silbi yung mga US treaty alliances. Then Thailand is going to ask questions. Then South Korea is going to ask questions. Then Japan, together with South Korea. And who knows, even Australia might say, wait, hindi pala maasahan ng United States. Pag mahina ka, iwanan ka lang sa ere. Then they're going to go for nuclear weapons themselves. And then you're going to see complete disintegration of the US-led hub and spokes military alliances. So, yun yung problema dun sa mga syunga-syunga or yung mga nagfi-feeling expert or yung mga bayaran talaga na mga kapili club na sinasabi nila, wala naman Silvia palang alliance. Well, I keep on asking. The reason na hanggang dito lang yung ginagawa ng China, gray zone lang, is because ayaw rin nila ma-escalate ito at potential ma-involve ang US. At sinasabi ko, ma-involve ang US not because mahal na mahal nilang Pilipinas, is because they cannot afford not to do anything when a treaty ally in an important part of the world, like the West Philippines and South China Sea, if ever it comes under attack. Do you get what I'm saying? Not to mention, ang Pilipinas ay napakamahalaga din sa US ngayon dahil tumutulong din tayo sa kanila, indirectly, if not directly, also on the Taiwan issue by giving them EDCA access sa Isabela, sa Cagayan. So, you have to have a much more sophisticated understanding what's going on the ground. So obviously the US has to give more, has to support more the Philippines, and has to coordinate more with the Philippines, and sure, kailangan ng Pilipinas na mas malalaking barke o mas malaki. But so far, ang ginawa ng Pilipinas is nagpakita siya na hindi siya na-intimidate ng China, at so far, nakita rin natin ang China ay natakot na i-escalate ito into an armed clash. Not because takot sila sa Pilipinas, ay dahil takot sila na ma-involve ang United States. So even the Chinese realize that there's a high chance that the Americans will get directly involved if they escalated into a shooting conflict, even a skirmish like what they did to Vietnam in 1988. Kaya ang China ay pumatay ng mga Vietnamese noong 1988 and they had no problems getting violent, really using armaments and all. Punta lang kayo sa YouTube, lagay mo Battle of Johnson South Reef. Nagbabarilan talaga sila. Because ang Vietnam, walang aliado. And their only ally back in Soviet Union was collapsing. 1988 na to. So, pa-collapse ng Soviet Union, di ba? So, this is what we have to keep in mind. Again, this doesn't mean that the Philippines should not maximize yung networks of alliances and partnerships niya. But at the same time, let's not forget the reason why hanggang gray zone ang China, even if hindi naman gumagana to dahil tuloy-tuloy naman ang resupply natin, is because takot din siya na ma-involve ang United States. Because nagkakalculate siya na it will be hard for the US not to get involved should the conflict escalate into a shooting war dyan sa West Philippine Sea over the Philippines. Again, not because they love us and whatever. No, it's because it is also about their credibility. It's about their network of alliances. It's about Philippines' geographic and strategic position. And it's also about us being very important to them because of the Taiwan issue and a whole host of other important issues. No, now, which leaves us with some big question. And I'll try to end on this, mga kameta, because of course, malapit na, medyo late na. Magsa-Sunday na tayo at alam niyo no, Sabbath day, of course, respect, spiritual day. So, wag na muna tayo Meta tomorrow. But please don't forget to check yung mga videos natin. Naka-upload na yata ako all 3 or 4 parts nung interview natin with Sir Ronald Llamas kahapon. Ang ganda ng usapan, diba? First, we talked about Kibuloy. Second, about Teves and ICC. Third, we talk about opposition. Fourth, we talk about West Philippine Sea. So please check also yung discussion natin with Ronald Llamas dyan sa YouTube. Na-upload ko ng lahat. Yung iba rin medyo na-upload sa Facebook and other platforms. So please check that out. Subscribe to us. And we'll keep you posted. Ipopost ko rin, by the way, itong video na ito para lang ma-update ang mga ating mga kababayan sa mga pambubuli nangyari. But the good news is, hindi tayo nagpapa-intimidate. The good news is, tuloy-tuloy ang resupply. And the good news is, takot pa rin ng China i-escalate yung situation. And last, let me put it this way. Tama yung sinasabi ni Justice Carpet. Tama yung what I've been saying also for quite some time, which is, you need to show first strength before you get the respect of China. Dahil for 6 years, meron tayong isang, well, sabi ng iba, tuta ng China, ganun, in charge, hindi tayo nirespeto ng China. Akala nila, tatay republic lang tayo, hanggang barangay geopolitics lang tayo. But now, it's important that we get their respect. I know grudgingly, but we'll have to get their respect and show na hindi tayo patalo. Hindi tayo loser, hindi tayo self-defeating, hindi tayo easily intimidatable. Right? Or ma-intimidate, to put it more correctly. And I believe this strategy could work. Although, I have, again, as a scholar, I will always have a counter argument to my own argument, right? Because you can always say the Philippines is an exceptional case because of the EDCA angle, Taiwan angle. But nevertheless, as far as we know, the way to get China's respect is to hold your ground. And it has worked. It worked with the case of South Korea when sometimes even South Korea wrongly used firearms and very aggressive methods to push back against China's illegal fishing dyan sa Yellow Sea, areas claimed by South Korea. We know that when Japan fought back with its Coast Guard in the Senkaku Diaoyu Islands, it was able to also hold the Chinese at bay. But more encouragingly, actually, is the case of Vietnam, Indonesia, and Malaysia. All of these 3 countries, mga kameta, fought back very hard. Vietnam for 1,000 years. And my goodness, how many incidents between Vietnam and China also past decade or so. Yung Malaysia also, they fought back against China. In fact, they unilaterally developed oil and gas resources with Vescapela for their Petronas 3 years ago, 2021, 2024 na pala, 2021. And in fact, US and Australia did patrols near the area as a show of support quietly to Malaysia. And then Indonesia also, when China kept on pushing into North Natuna Sea at the edge of the 9-dash line, Indonesia fought back. Jokowi went to the Natuna area, to the border islands, and Indonesia scrambled F-16 fighters, sent warships, step up its Coast Guard activities. So actually, lumaban lahat ng mga kapitbahay natin until nag-back off yung China. And in some cases, they actually even got the upper hand. So that's Vietnam, that's Indonesia, Malaysia. Ang hindi lang nakagawa nun is the Philippines. And that's why it's important that we fight the good fight right now. Because unfortunately, because of those 6 years of subservience under Duterte, hindi tayo nirerespeto ng China. But dahil takot sila na ma-escalate ito at ma-involve ang US, hanggang gray zone strategy sila. Now, gray zone is still bad, but definitely you can see takot ng China na i-escalate ito into shooting war. Even though super superior sila sa atin because of the US element. Right? So for me, we have to keep on doing until China realizes hindi tayo magpapatalo. At until China realizes, baka hindi na makabalik ang mga Dutertes. Alright? On that note, thank you very much. Mga kameta, maraming salamat again. Please don't forget to subscribe. Just madali lang, mura lang. Libre lang actually mag-subscribe. Please subscribe both sa Facebook and also on YouTube. Ang pansin ko, especially sa Facebook, kung hindi kayo subscribe, hindi kayo nakakuha ng notification. So please also subscribe to us over dito sa Facebook para automatically meron kayong notification whenever we're giving a live. At least dito sa YouTube, medyo mas effective yung notification. Especially, of course, kung naka-subscribe ka na. So please do that. And also, please don't forget to give us yung support. Libre lang magbigay ng 5-star dyan sa podcast natin on Apple especially. Thank God, ang dami na natin 5-star dyan sa hundreds and hundreds dyan sa Spotify. Maraming salamat sa inyong suporta. But hopefully, we'll also have that sa podcast natin, Apple Podcast. So, go to Richard and Podcast para naman lalabas yung ratings natin at mas prominent tayo sa search. No? Again, I really appreciate every show of support, whether it's comments, whether it's suggestions, whether it's stars, or even more, right? I really, really appreciate that. And thank you so much. And as I said, as soon as I get some time, hopefully, I'll do more edits medyo matinong travel vlog. Hindi yung mga pa-cute travel vlog na, yung matinong travel vlog kung saan I can give the history, the politics, the economy, the society, all of those aspects in terms of analysis when we discuss countries. So you're not just gonna show ang cute ng Berlin or gonna, no, you talk about the history and everything. Because when I go to different cities around the world, I also go to historical sites. I reflect. I try to recapturing emotions that these countries and cities went through in their difficult, tumultuous moments. Whether this is the fall of Berlin Wall, whether this is invasion of Soviet Union, whether this is America's bombing of Tokyo, or even worse things. I've been to Hiroshima, by the way, not yet Nagasaki, but I've been to Hiroshima. Um, so that's what I do, and of course, when I'm U.S. Supreme Court, I'm also reflecting on what's happening latest when it comes to U.S. Supreme Court. So, pero matabaho yan, and as you can see, today pa lang sabaw na sabaw kasi I had to do two graduate classes back to back. So 5 to 6 hours lecture yan. And we still have to do these things. So God willing, I'll try to put aside some time unti-unti to get also yung mga different kinds. A little bit travel vlogs, a little bit. So you can already see snippets of how at least I do my cinematography when you look at some of the shorts that I posted dyan sa YouTube. No? Yung medyo pa-cute, medyo maayos, medyo edgy, right? But we want to do something more than that. But so give us more. So we really need your support, right? In every sense of the word, because yun ang nagbibigay ng lakas at nagbibigay ng inspiration sa atin to do these things. Kasi, it's very hard for you to come out. It takes 10 hours, 15 hours to do the proper edit. Not to mention expenses and all the things you have to put aside. So, minsan, kung hindi namin alam kung may manonood pa, parang, di ba, mailang ka eh. I mean, thank God, medyo malaki ng platforms natin. But you also have to understand, tao lang kami. If we're gonna put our hearts and souls into something, we want to hope naman na may manood naman, may kahit paano ma-appreciate naman, kahit paano you can spread the message because it's also supposed to be public education, right? History, politics, etc. So, think of, I'm thinking of vlogs that are like my articles and columns and books, but visualized, right? Yun yung gusto kong approach, and I'm still thinking about it, all right? And I'm still researching on how to do. Siguro ang kailangan ko rin kumuha ng gimbal. So last night actually I was checking over YouTube how to use gimbals and all some of the transition style, mga video ganun. I'm just believe me, I'm just trying to learn everything while doing all of these other things. So I know, how should I put it? I mean, sino ba naman ako, 'di ba? But I hope you guys understand that as an ordinary person or whatever. Maybe for you guys it's not a big deal, but for us it's a very big deal. How to get the right shot, how to have the right gadgets. Thanks for support in every sense of the word. Also, the sense na may ambag din naman sa inyo sana. May paki naman sana kayo pag may ginawa kami mga not to mention, by the way, I also have a number of lectures that I have recorded and I've been editing. I managed to edit just one pa lang so far. It took me forever just to edit it and all. So we want to have also kind of mini lectures. Let's just kind of progressive Jordan Peterson version, right? A good version of his. So hopefully we'll also, God willing, get those out in the coming weeks and all. On that note, thank you very much. God bless, guys, and mabuhay ang Pilipinas. And again, pasensya na if sometimes I say things na na-hurt ang feelings nyo, or kung pro tatay kayo or pro kayo, I don't know, Jellan Jr., whatever, sorry na lang. Or pro opposition. I know, ma-hurt din kayo minsan sa mga sinasabi ko, criticism ko. But I hope you understand where I'm coming from. It comes from a place of passion, patriotism, and also from a place of just humanity. Yun lang naman. Salamat, God bless, and talk to you soon.